Hello and welcome to Betfred's Football Show. It's FA Cup fourth round weekend. Paul Robinson is alongside me. But before we talk about the FA Cup, let's just talk about a sensational weekend in the Premier League that's just gone. Right, first of all, Arsenal now 8-11, Man City 6-5, Man United 40-1. Are you now beginning to think Arsenal can do it? 5 points clear with a game in hand.
As much as it pains me to say it, yeah, I think they're the real deal now. Yeah. We've sat here so often and we've talked about can they do it, and we've all said, and me included, that the bubble's going to burst. You look at City, you look at what City have got in the squad, it's only going to be a matter of time. Whereas actually now, Arsenal have actually stepped up, and every single game that comes up and is at the test. Look at United game, they played against a fantastic United team, a United team that was massively in form. And they took the points. I mean, 5 points ahead now. The league was won last season by 1 point.
Yeah. So 5 points ahead with a game in hand. 11 points to the likes of Man United and Newcastle now with a game in hand. So is it a two-horse race now with Arsenal out in front?
I think if United had taken the points at the Emirates, I think we could be talking about potentially United involved in a title race. I think City are capable of putting a run together. I've just got a sneaking feeling and a little bit of a hope from a Tottenham point of view that Tottenham game that City came back is a turning point. In that half-time, I'd have loved to have been a fly on the wall in that dressing room and see what Pep Guardiola said to that City team. Because then they went on, they've knocked Wolves aside 3-0 comfortably, scored 4 against Spurs in the second half. It was as though it was right, we've got nothing to lose now. This is us for the rest of the season. We go out, we play carefree, we play how we do. And they beat Spurs, beat Wolves. And from Arsenal's point of view, I'd be looking over my shoulder thinking City could go on a run. But 5 points is a big gap.
But I suppose if you are in a City camp, they've got to play Arsenal twice, haven't they? So 15th of February at the Emirates, obviously we'll talk about the FA Cup game in a moment, and 26th of April at the Etihad. 6
points, isn't it? I mean, you wouldn't expect City to win both games, but you wouldn't rule them out winning both games. 5 points is a big gap at this stage of the season. If we were talking about Manchester City, because of the experience that side's got of winning this league, we'd almost be thinking, right, the league's over. You know, Arsenal have fallen away, City are 5 points ahead. Because it's Arsenal, we're not talking like that. City are capable of closing that gap because, you know, Arsenal are in unfamiliar territory. I think even the manager's gone on record by saying he didn't expect them to be at this point, at this stage of the season. So for them to go on and win the league would be a massive achievement on a similar level to when Leicester won it, in all honesty. Maybe not such a huge surprise. I would have to look at the odds at the beginning of the season. But
obviously a huge difference. Leicester were like 2,000 to 1.
I wouldn't be giving them the trophy just yet, though.
28 to 1.
But I think it's a similar type of thing because realistically, nobody would have looked at that other than Arsenal fans and thought, with a manager, with the way that in building and all the rest of it, where they are. So that's a test of mentality for them. But every test they've had this season, they've passed. So can they go on and do it? Yeah, the additions they've made to the squad. We've got Jesus coming back. They're going to get players coming back from injury. Yes, they can do it. But, I mean, if there's anybody that can close the gap and go on a run, it's City.
Right, well, it's Pep Guardiola versus Arteta on Friday night, but in the FA Cup. So how do the managers approach this one?
I think this is more of a priority to City.
Forget the Premier League, do you?
No, I think it's more of a priority to City.
It's got a psychological sort of edge towards it?
Yeah, Man City have got to put a marker down. They've got to lay a marker down here. They're at home. They're going to want to progress in the Cup. They want to win as many trophies as they can. Arsenal will prioritise the league. I'm sure they will because of where they are. They've got to look forward at staying at the top of the league. I think it would be... I mean, you look at the odds. It's going to be a bigger shock if City lose this game. City are going to be big favourites to win this.
City are 4-6, Arsenal 3-1.
Yeah, there's no value in backing City at home. This game means more to Pep Guardiola than it does to Mikel Arteta because if they take a dent, I don't think it matters to them too much going forward. City pick up the points, they take the momentum into the league, and then playing Arsenal in the league, they've gone, right, well, we've got one over them already. I think this is much more important to City than it is Arsenal.
So, come on, give us a score. I'll just give you a stat first. Man City have won 13 of their last 16 meetings with Arsenal in all competitions under Pep Guardiola. Arsenal have won their last 4 FA Cup games against Man City. They've reached the final every time they've eliminated City as well, winning the trophy in the last 3, 1971, 2017 and 2020, last time Arsenal won the FA Cup. Come on, give us a score.
I think City will win. I think it's more important for them that they win. It's going to be their priority. And you look at the squads, quick point, look at the squads. City make 11 changes, Arsenal make 11 changes. squad's a much stronger City.
There's not going to be that many changes, though, is there?
I think there will be from
neither
Arsenal.
have got midweek football.
No, I think there will be from Arsenal. I think
right.
that you'll see few. And I think when you see what City have got in reserve and compared to what Arsenal have got, I don't think he can risk injuries and suspensions going forward. 3-0 Manchester City.
3-0 Manchester City. And then is that some sort of psychological marker for the Premier League games coming up then?
It has to be, because they need it more than Arsenal need it at the moment. Yes, Arsenal are where they are, but City have been on an indifferent run. You've seen the likes, Everton got a point at the Etihad, and the Spurs were 2-0 up at the Etihad. It's not the City that we were used to seeing. And I think the fact that they've fallen off a little bit, momentum for them is key.
Right, that's Friday night. Saturday lunchtime, live on BBC One. Accrington Stanley versus Leeds United. This will be the first competitive meeting between Accrington Stanley and Leeds United. Leeds, their first FA Cup fourth round tie since 2016-2017, when they lost 1-0 at non-league Sutton United. Right then, with your Leeds hat on, are you worried about an away trip to Accrington Stanley? They beat Boreham Wood just 1-0, didn't they, in extra time on Tuesday night. Leeds had to have that replay as well against Cardiff. Are you worried about the early kick-off on Saturday lunchtime?
Yeah, very much so, from a Leeds United fan's point of view. I mean, you look at the FA Cup, the beauty of the FA Cup, you talk about potential banana skins. This one just leaps off the page, doesn't it? I mean, Leeds haven't won in the league since November the 5th. They beat Liverpool and I think it was
Chelsea at home.
Chelsea at home in the same week, which kept Jesse March in a job.
No, Chelsea home was before, wasn't it?
They beat Cardiff in a replay in the FA Cup, and that's the only game they've won since November. So for me, from a Leeds point of view, going to Accrington in the early kick-off, and by the way, they've had 3 or 4 games postponed due to the state of their pitch. No disrespect to the lower league football, it's never nice, it's never a beautiful carpet. Some of these Leeds players won't have ever seen anything like it. And it's always difficult. I mean, I've played there against Accrington because I was at Blackburn and Burnley. You play pre-season friendlies there. They've got a really good nucleus of a good, strong following of supporters. The ground's going to be packed. It's going to be something that Leeds are not going to like. We say it all the time, the small dressing rooms, the cold showers. It's not the Premier League. And this just stinks of an upset. I mean, John Coleman in his second spell at the club, I think he's been there for 11 years this time. I mean, it's a fantastically run football club. And it has just got the makings of a cup upset. Accrington with nothing to lose, Leeds with everything to lose. If Leeds go and win, they're expected to. If they get a draw, okay, it's a replay. It stinks of an upset, it really does.
Do you think he'll make quite a few changes, Jesse Marsh? Because obviously priorities are elsewhere, aren't they?
I think he will. I think he'll get it wrong. I think he'll make changes. He made a lot of changes in the Cardiff away game, to which they pulled it out the fire with 3 minutes into injury time. They were 2-0 down and they brought it back to 2-2 in the 94th minute. So I think, yes, I think he'll make a lot of changes because his priority is the Premier League, but I think he'll make too many changes to the detriment of the side where it could have an effect, because psychologically a defeat against Accrington and the press and the aftermath that follows that could have an effect on his team going forward.
Give us a score then.
I can't back against Leeds. You always ask me to back against my own teams. If I'm doing an accumulator and you want a bit of value, put Accrington in without a doubt. I've gone for, team selection I've put will be a key. Replay, for me, a replay all over it.
And then they wouldn't play Manchester United, would they? On the 8th of February,
and then it would,
so
it
what,
would
1-0,
be
0-0? What are you going for?
It's a score draw, but actually if you want 2-2.
2-2.
But if you want some value, there's a real chance of an upset.
And I've just been told in my ear, the game that they won with Liverpool in that week was Bournemouth, wasn't it?
Bournemouth at home, that's right, 4-3.
Conceded 3, didn't they?
Conceded 3 at home, came back to win 4-3. And that was the 5th of November. And the manager stayed in the job since then without winning the game.
So they've just kept a clean sheet against Brentford.
Yeah.
Are you worried about Leeds? I mean, the 1 point, the 15th, the 1 point above the drop zone. So are you worried about Leeds, or have you seen enough that they can stay up?
I've seen enough that they can stay up, but not on a consistent basis. I mean, the form of Willie Gnonto has been unbelievable. He's been absolutely outstanding. He's been a great find. They paid $3.5 million for him. Come into the side and looks a threat every time he gets the ball. A goal threat, an attacking threat. Offensively, I'm not worried about them now. We talked about the problem that they had needing a striker. Patrick Bamford's back fit now, scoring goals. Rodrigo's back, scoring goals. And they've got Rutter, who's come in as a £36 million record signing. So they've got 3 options there, scoring goals. Defensively, they still concede. They played against a really poor Cardiff side, won 5-2, but conceded 2 really sloppy goals at the end of that. The clean sheet you mentioned against Brentford was a rarity because they've conceded a record number of Premier League home goals since the beginning of last season. So you always back Leeds to concede. Am I worried about them? Yes, they're in a relegation dogfight. Absolutely, they are. West Ham have done something about it. Their form seems to be turning. Wolves, the new manager, impact has definitely been there. Everton, if Sean Dyche goes in there, worries me because they're more than capable of getting out of it.
Forest have gone on that run.
Forest have gone on the run as well. I think from Forest down, you're looking at potential relegation candidates. For me, Southampton have gone. I think that Southampton are spending $750,000 on a right back from Luton today, which doesn't send out the right signals if you're bottom of the league. Bournemouth, I think they might have served their term as well. But I think Leeds are in a relegation dogfight with 4 or 5 others.
Everton then. So you'd go Sean Dyche, not Bielsa?
I would put Sean Dyche in today, absolutely. Get him in as soon as possible. You know, the remit for that club is to stay in the Premier League. They've grossly mismanaged it, grossly overspent over a number of years. The new stadium looks fantastic. There's one thing you can't criticise the owner for, is the investment he's put in. The stadium looks incredible. The way the money's been handled and the signings that have been made, no, they've been far off the mark. Sean Dyche comes in and he gets the best out of the players. What you need is the manager in there who can get the best out of the players they've got, because we all know the financial fair play. If they can get some money in for Anthony Gordon this window and the manager's allowed to make a couple of alterations, you bring Bielsa in, you're bringing in a long-term project. So you look at him historically at Leeds. When he gets a player into his side at Leeds, he doesn't put him in the first team for 4 or 5 weeks properly. He integrates him into training because he's different. He wants them to work hard. He will run them around the training ground. He'll get them to a level of fitness that no other manager will. From an Everton point of view, my worry would be Bielsa comes in tomorrow. There's no game till the 13th of February. He runs them into the ground to try and get a level of fitness till the 13th of February. They lose the first 2 or 3 games and then they're cut adrift. Bielsa as a long-term project, absolutely. What he did at Leeds is phenomenal. If they're potentially looking at relegation and coming back, yeah, he's your long-term project. Realistically, if you want to stay in the Premier League and you want to move forward quickly, you get Sean Dyche in today.
And looking at it, all right, 15 points, not a great return, obviously, but they've got 18 games left. So realistically, they'd need, 25 points from 18 games.
And they've got the players there to do it.
It's achievable, isn't it?
Oh, it's more than achievable. That's why we're looking at the table now and we're looking at Nottingham Forest down, who are in 13th position. And we're talking about Leeds United, who were, prior to this weekend, in 14th. Are they in a relegation fight? And it's like no other season. Not many times has a team in 14th been a point or 2 outside the relegation zone. So yes, Everton can do it with the right man management, with the right organisation.
Right, let's go to another FA Cup tie involving one of your old clubs. Preston versus Tottenham, live on the BBC One on Saturday night. Right then, how do you see this? This is one of those tricky away games, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a tricky away game. It's a tricky draw. But I think Antonio Conte approaches this in the way that he's approached most. I mean, you saw the side that he changed against Portsmouth. Didn't make that many changes. Got through against Portsmouth the last round. Preston at home, I've looked at their record. I mean, they've lost 3 of the last 4 at home. They got through against Huddersfield in the FA Cup, which was apart from the league games. Deepdale's not too much of a difficult place to go for away teams. A 6 o'clock kick-off on a Saturday night, you can make an argument for an upset, but I think Conte will approach this in the manner of he wants to get wins, he wants to get victories, he wants to get momentum. And Mark, in all honesty, what else are Spurs going to win this year? They're not in a title race. Champions League, realistically, they're going to have to get a lot of luck with the draw and play well to get in the Champions League. They're out of the League Cup. The FA Cup is his only opportunity for silverware. I think he goes there, full strength.
Well, Harry Kane has scored 14 goals in his last 14 appearances in the FA Cup for Spurs. Well, he's probably got a great chance of breaking Jimmy Greaves' record, hasn't he?
Yeah, an opportunity to do it. Possibly not at the place or somewhere he expected nor wanted to do it on his record. But, a goal scorer of his ability, I don't think it'll matter to him. And like I said, I think he plays. I think he plays a full-strength side. Even when he's made changes in cup competitions, Harry Kane's, he's been the regular one, the figurehead at the top. And he's been so important, which is why I can't see this been too much of a stumbling block for Tottenham.
Yeah, scored a winner in the 3rd round against Portsmouth. Wins the FA Cup, does he stay at Spurs then? Or do you think
the manager or Kane?
Kane.
Is an FA Cup win enough to keep him there? It's silverware, it's progression, but I think there's a lot of instability at Spurs. I think the manager, the way that he talks after games, Sometimes he's very unpredictable. There's no kind of stability. Let's say Spurs are not on a upward curve gradually. It seems to be 1 week progression, next week not, lose a couple, come back a couple. They've got the manager who said he needs time, said he wants money. I don't think he's been given as much money as he's probably been promised. What's Kane's options for him to go? I mean, Manchester United, rumour is gathering pace, and you look at the way that they're going, there's an opportunity there, possibly for him. Outside of England, it's Bayern Munich, realistically, if you want to go and win trophies. But then does he look back on his career and he's judged by, OK, I got to a certain point, I jumped ship because I just wanted some silverware. It may come down to a point of, what are my loyalties to Tottenham? How do I feel about Tottenham? And a straight decision of who's going to look more progressively like winning trophies, Tottenham or Man United, in the next couple of years for him. I think that's where it is. I mean, we know that contract talks are underway with his representatives at Tottenham, and Tottenham would be foolish not to do everything that they can. He should be up there with the likes of Salah as the Premier League's highest paid players, because he's done what he's done in a hugely underachieving team. He's dragged that team single-handedly to where they are with his amount of goals, with the way that he plays, his reliability. You put him in a Manchester City team 5 years ago. You put him in a Liverpool team 5 years ago. These records he's breaking, he would have flown through them and had a shed load of trophies as well. So, as in pay salary-wise, he's got every right to sit there and go to Daniel Levy, if I'm staying, you pay me top whack.
Do you think he'll stay at Spurs then?
Yes, because I don't think his options going elsewhere are that attractive unless United really make a good push this year and come in heavy. If he doesn't sign a new contract, Spurs are backed into a corner because he's got 18 months from now. He's going to have 12 months left on his contract. You'll still get between 60 and 80 million for him with 12 months left on his contract. Anything less than that, they can't risk letting him go for free.
Right, score for Preston Spurs.
2-0 comfortable away win. Early goal for Spurs, pretty poor game, won in the last 5 or 6 minutes, 2-0.
Right, 8 o'clock on Saturday night on ITV4, Manchester United versus Reading. And obviously things are very different at Manchester United. Got defeated by Arsenal, but it was a spirited display. They're in the top 4. They've got 1 foot in a final. I mean, Ten Hag, I believe he was told his targets for this season were to finish in the top 4. So he's going to hit his target, and he's obviously got a chance of a trophy with having 1 foot in the Carabao Cup final, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, the job that he's done is exceptional, the way that the team are playing. But I think you look at his points haul compared to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's points haul in the same amount of games, they're pretty similar. So for him, it's now to take it to the next level, to take this team on. I think it's a huge difference between the two, because you look at the players that he's got playing now, you look at the personnel in the squad, he's made big decisions, he's got them right. He's made big decisions on Ronaldo, which we talk about for hours on end. He's made big decisions with Harry Maguire, which we spoke about, which has been right. And as a manager, when you make big decisions and teams win games and you change systems and you win games and you play well, all of a sudden you get the dressing room believing. And that's what he's got. He's got the dressing room on his side. He's got the team believing. And I saw the support last night after the Forest game, and that looked like a Manchester United team of old. It looked like a lot of Manchester United fans who were believing that they were going to Wembley, believing that they're going to win a trophy. And it's been a while since they've had that. And in a way, it's good for the Premier League that that's coming back, because too long has it been City, Liverpool, Arsenal potentially could break the mould. United now coming into that, Newcastle coming into that. The gap at the top of the Premier League is closing. I think Ten Hag deserves a lot of credit for what he's done.
Talking about big decisions, Fergie made a big decision about Paul Ince. Can Paul Ince get anything at Old Trafford on Saturday night then?
Well, Paul Ince and Tom Ince as well. I think it was a surprise, I think, him getting the Reading job at the time, wasn't it? But he's done extremely well at the start of the season. They've dropped off to 14th after a really good start. They beat Watford in the last round, which was no mean feat. But, I mean...
You can see United making changes because they've got that many games, haven't they? I mean, that Forest game was a beginning of 10 games in 32 days.
United at home, under the lights at Old Trafford, FA Cup game against a Reading side. I mean, Reading's last game, they lost 4-0 at Stoke. So I can't see any amount of changes that Ten Hag would make that would affect the result of this.
Go on then.
United 4-0.
4-0 Manchester United. Right, let's move to Sunday's games. 1:30 Sunday, we have got Brighton versus Liverpool.
Second tie of the round, I think, this one, behind the City
Arsenal game.
Of course,
Liverpool lost at the Amex, didn't they, a couple of weeks ago?
Lost 3-0 at the Amex as well. And I, like a lot of other people, put Brighton in my Accas, because I think that's where they are now and where Liverpool are. It's going to be a very, very interesting game. This is going to be a game where neither manager makes that many changes. I think it's of importance. I mean, Brighton are sitting in 6th at the European place. I know they've lost Trossard to Arsenal this week, but I like what the manager's done.
But it's massive for Liverpool, isn't it?
It's huge for Liverpool.
I mean, the holders as well.
They were better at Wolves, though, in the replay, I thought. Yeah. You know, they drew at home to Wolves. They were better. I mean, they only won 1-0, but they're still yet to be convincing. They're slowly getting a drip feed of players back. There's a whole talk, you know, we've spoken here, do they need a midfielder, they need 2 midfielders. Looking at where they are and where they've been the last few weeks, I don't think one midfielder is going to solve their problems. They've got to get everybody back fit and playing together and playing as a team, which is what they haven't done. This is a game that Jurgen Klopp won't want. They don't want to be away at Brighton, a tough FA Cup tie that they're gonna have to win.
Go on then, prediction.
Splinters for this one, I'm afraid. Draw. This one's got replay written all over it. I think it's going to be another game that Jurgen Klopp doesn't want, but I think he'd probably go there and take a draw. Brighton to take a lead, Liverpool to come back, score draw.
1-1?
Yeah, 1 each.
1 each. That's at 1:30. We're doing the televised games. Plenty more games in round 4, of course. And I'm looking forward to watching this one. 4:30 on BBC One. Wrexham versus Sheffield United. And this is the first time Wrexham have reached the 4th round since 1996-97. Can Wrexham of a National League with their fancy Hollywood owners pull off an upset?
Yeah, of course they can. Did you see them last round away at Coventry? I thought they were brilliant. You know, the support that they took, and it was a Hollywood movie like script, wasn't it? They won 4-3 away at Coventry. I mean, the National League, they're at the top of the National League, doing extremely well weekly in the league. They're going to be at home. They're going to have a massive following. I didn't realise the following that they actually get at home now. The crowds that they get at home is fantastic. So the atmosphere is going to be incredible. Sheffield United, 2nd in the Championship, looking like they're going to run away with it with Burnley. So you wonder where Heckingbottom's priorities are going to be.
He'll make changes,
He'll definitely make changes. But yeah, can sniff an upset here.
Go on. What kind of sniff have you got there?
I think there's goals. There's going to be goals in it because, like you say, Sheffield United will make changes, but they are a good side regardless of who plays. I've gone for a 3-2 to Wrexham in a similar way to like Accrington could potentially upset Leeds. If you're not a Leeds fan and you don't want to back against Leeds like me, there might be a little bit of value in backing Wrexham and Accrington if you back them both.
Monday night is Derby County versus West Ham. That was a huge win for David Moyes. Wasn't it, last Saturday at home to Everton. So West Ham away at Derby, 7:45 Monday night, live on ITV4.
Yeah, it's a different Derby than what we're used to, though, isn't it? I mean, 4th in League One. They had a great win this weekend against Port Vale after going behind. They come back to win 2-1. Beat Barnsley in the FA Cup the last round. But I think this is a game that David Moyes will approach as a Premier League game, if you like, because of where his team are. We know the amount of games that they've had this season. We know that they've struggled with results. But all the teams at the bottom of the league, Jesse March realised it at Leeds very quickly, named an understrength team at Cardiff. You look at the team he named at Cardiff to the replay team he named at home, completely different, and realised the momentum that you have to get in these competitions to take into the Premier League. And I think David Moyes will do it. I mean, they won away at Brentford in this competition last time by naming a stronger side, and they beat Everton at home last weekend to get themselves out the bottom 3 in the Premier League. He'll want to continue that. He'll go to Derby. It's not a tough place to go. It's a place I used to really enjoy playing. It's a nice stadium. OK, it's a dated stadium, but it's a nice stadium. There won't be that many fans there. And I just think Derby County are a completely different proposition to what they were.
Go on and give us a score.
I think West Ham will win this one. I think they'll win it 2-0 with a professional away performance. Right,
so we're going to recap Paul's selections for the televised game. So Man City Arsenal on Friday night. Paul's going for 3-0 to Man City. Accrington Stanley versus Leeds United. He's gone 2-2 for his former club. And staying with his former clubs, he's gone Spurs to win at Preston 2-0. Man United Reading has gone 4-0. Brighton Liverpool has gone 1-1. Wrexham Sheffield United. Looking forward to watching this. He's gone 3-2. And finally, Monday night, he has gone 2-0 West Ham. On the outright, Man City are the 5-2 favourites, won it 6 times, last time in 2019. Man United last won it in 2016, they've won it 12 times, they're 9-2. Spurs are 6-1, not won it since 1991. Liverpool, the holders at 7-1, and Arsenal, they've won it a record 14 times at 10-1, and it's 14-1 bar those. Who's going to win the FA Cup then?
I've got 2 more upsets for you before we go on to who's going to win it.
Go on then.
You know, in the weekend's fixtures, Walsall are at home to Leicester, League 2 Walsall.
Again,
sitting in 11th. Leicester will make changes. So if those of you who like the upsets, there's a little accumulator or a bet builder you can do. Potentially Accrington Leeds, Walsall at home to Leicester, and Blackpool away at Southampton. I know we've seen Southampton get a decent performance in the Cup, but they're in a real pickle at the moment with Nathan Jones. Those of you who like upsets, have a look at Walsall, have a look at Blackpool, have a look at Wrexham, have a look at Accrington.
That'll pay a few quid as well. That'll be a decent price. And just very quickly, a team that did do an upset last time, Sheffield Wednesday. What a performance they put up against Newcastle. And Dean Windas's lad was superb, wasn't he, Josh Windas? They're at home to Fleetwood Town. So they've got a great chance, Sheffield Wednesday, of getting in the 5th round, haven't they?
And they beat Fleetwood in the last game. Their last game was postponed because of the frozen pitch. The game before that, they beat Fleetwood in the Championship 1-0. Fleetwood sitting 7th in the Championship. Sheffield Wednesday sitting 2nd. They're going to want to play, progress. They've got an opportunity to go through. Do I think any of those will win this trophy? I don't know. I think the ones that you said there, there's a lot more.
Wins it then?
There's a lot more to win. There's a lot of quality left, isn't there?
Are you going to tip up Spurs?
I'd love to tip up Spurs. I'd love to, because it's a trophy that's got a great affinity with the club. There's a great history there with Spurs and the FA Cup. Listen, it's been a long time since Spurs won a trophy. A dinosaur like me was the last one to hold a trophy in a Spurs
League
shirt.
Cup?
2008, which is...
Chelsea?
It's almost unthinkable that Spurs have gone that long without... the Champions League final was the nearest that they've come. Potentially the Premier League when Leicester won it. But anyway, the less said about that, the better. City, Arsenal, whoever comes out of that are going to go into it probably strong favourites. United are going to be strong favourites. They will come past Reading. If Liverpool get past Brighton, for me, you're looking at City or Arsenal, whoever comes through, United, and I'm going to put Tottenham in there as well.
And just a final word, when you are a player, unfortunately you didn't have success in the FA Cup, but when you are a player, when it's a draw, are you just watching thinking home tie? Take anyone at home?
Home tie, but not a home tie against a lesser league side, as in one that could cause you a real potential banana slip. You want in a good, easier home tie, not a non-leaguer at home, because you know there's no benefit in it unless you're going to lay a strong side and win, because you always know from a Premier League point of view is if I was at Tottenham and we drew, no disrespect to any of the non-league sides, a Fleetwood, an Accrington or a Wrexham at home, you know the manager's going to make a whole load of changes, and from a goalkeeper's point of view, you just hope that you're one of them.
Want a week off?
Yeah.
Right, Paul, enjoyed your company. Enjoy the FA Cup. And of course, if you're having a bet, please keep it fun and gamble responsibly.